It's now 22 minutes to 9. This is Morning Express, and it's time for us. On a Monday, we normally have an inspirational section, and today we're speaking to June Kanini. Now, June Kanini grew up like everybody else, but had to overcome some challenges, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Remember, you're welcome to participate in the conversation via Twitter, and the Twitter handle is at Michael G. Gitonga. Well, welcome, June Kanini. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Now, maybe we just start off with where you grew up and how you grew up.
Okay, I grew up in Nairobi, and from a family of 3. I'm the second born, and growing up, I didn't quite experience anything weird or different about myself. I have a big brother, and then myself, and then my younger sister. So we grew up in a pretty much normal family, nothing different, nothing out of the norm. It's just what you'd expect in every kawaida family. And my name is Kanini, so pretty much I was protected around by everybody else.
Kanini means small.
Small, you know. I actually have some friends who call me small. So yeah, growing up, I didn't quite have the small mentality, but you know, you grow up. And then pretty much, you know, kids can be a bit harsh with their comments and stuff. So once every so often you'd hear a child saying, "Unatembeaje?" I'm thinking, "Natembeaje? Si natembea kama wewe." And then you go back and wonder what's going on. And then my sister, I would say she's like my bodyguard. She's taller than me. That doesn't mean she's older, but she's taller than me, and pretty much I was very guarded. I was given every opportunity. I was sent everywhere, and I grew up knowing I'm kawaida. There's nothing different.
So let me get this right. When you were at home, everything was normal. You didn't see anything different about you. Nobody made any comment.
Nobody made it so obvious. You know, the way you can go out there and then it's so obvious you're different. But no, I was pretty much accepting everything. I thought I was like everybody else. Until now, when kids start making those comments and you start asking yourselves, by the way, I kind of walk different. And
maybe just so that those who are at home may be clear, because I'm sure from the shot that we have, they may be wondering, okay, so what's wrong with that? Maybe you can let us know what was the challenge.
I have bow legs, and there's a leg that's slightly longer than the other. So that's the condition.
Okay.
And I have had to have surgery. I have plates on my legs, so it kind of aids me.
Okay, so how old were you when now you went out there and you heard other children talk about you and made you now started, you know, wondering?
Class 2, class 3. Then you start looking around, you're like, it makes sense, I'm different. But the most amazing or beautiful thing about it is my family, we have been brought up to believe that we can do everything and anything. So you would imagine, because I walk different, that I would be behind the scenes. But the most interesting thing is, they would say like I'm the quote-unquote sanguine of the family, because I'm never at home, I'm always out there doing something. So I believe pretty much who I am today is because of the confidence that was instilled to me when I was young.
Now we'll come back to the family and how important that is, because I think we also have a huge part to play in how we bring up our children and how and the environment. But in regards to what you had at that point where you're in standard 2 and you began to think, wait a minute, there is something different. What did that do to you?
Definitely there were tears. You cry and you're like, why am I not like my sister? Why is everyone pointing me out? And then you go back and you look around and you discover, I'm not going to change who I am. I can't change what it is that I am, but I embrace who I am. They say that most of the time we have had this slogan over and over again, that disability is inability. But for me, really, I think disability is your own mindset. You decide, am I going to look at myself as a victim or will I be a victor? So it really, pretty much, who you become and how you experience life lays back on the mental pictures you have of yourself.
I'm sure at the point where you're saying there were tears, you went through a period where you felt different. You probably, like you've asked, why am I not like my sister? Probably wished you were somebody else. Tell me about that. That period. And the reason I'm asking is because I'm sure there's so many people out there who probably are in that stage and maybe would want to know how to overcome that.
Absolutely. When I experienced that, I almost wanted not to be. I thought life was unfair. I thought that maybe I should have been born in a different family, and then I kept thinking, is it something I did? Is it something I should do? And I kept thinking, okay, what would happen if I cut off the legs? You know, all those weird conversations you have as a child, but now getting out of that place is what helped me or allowed me to be able to view myself as, this is the predicament. We're not going to change anything. You're already who you are. You're present. You're living. So moving on, how can we move forward and become a better me, looking at what I have been handed as my life to live today?
How did you manage to get out of that stage where you are almost regretting? Did you ever blame your parents?
No, I'm grateful I didn't get to blame anybody, but I think the greatest thing that kept me going was faith. I believe in that everything happens for a reason and for a purpose. I am not an accident, and I'm not going to change anything, but who I am or where I have been placed is for a divine reason and a purpose. So that really, my faith is what allowed me to move
get
to the
there.
next level.
Now it's interesting because I was just reading something here this morning, and it says, don't let other people's opinion distort your reality.
Absolutely.
Be true to yourself. Be bold in pursuing your dreams. Be unapologetic about you.
Absolutely.
What got you to that point where now you stopped being apologetic about being you and accepted? What's that light bulb moment where you thought, you know what, I'm different, but I'm good?
The light bulb moment was realizing that I have family that loves me. I have a God that looks down on me and says, you are my own. So that was like, ding. So if I was created for a reason and for a purpose, and I'm here, then what is it I'm supposed to accomplish given the time frame that I have? So you wake up and you discover, oh, I love yellow. So what can we do to make the world even more yellow? Needless to say that yellow is my favorite color. So you look for an opportunity to determine, oh, my attitude is my altitude. So if I think that the world is unfair, that's the attitude. Believe you me, that's what you will experience. So it's just how you perceive life and going out there and believing you can attain beyond the limitations that people or yourself put on yourself.
What are some of the things that you probably thought you couldn't do that today you look back and you think, you know what, I'm glad.
Do you want the short version or the long version?
Give us the edited version.
The edited version. Okay, when I was growing up, I wasn't very sure that I would stand in front of people. I thought I was timid. Regardless to say that right now, more often than not, I'm always in front of people. When you have a disability, people kind of look down on you, quote unquote, in your own perception. You believe that, oh, because I look like this, people will not accept me. But you know, the trick is once you accept yourself, it's so easy for everybody to accept you. It's in realizing who you are and what you are that you give the world the gift of you. So I have been able to attend various concerts, going out and about, singing and ministering, and someone comes and asks you, how are you able to stand on stage for so many hours? And then you tell them, it's the grace of God. It's nothing to do with my own strength, but also in realizing that who I am and the gift that I am to this world is the best thing I can give anybody. Okay.
Now, for people with disability, one of the things I've realized, and now talking from my perspective, sometimes you feel sorry and you want to, you know, overhelp, and you'll realize that sometimes as you're trying to help, the person maybe with disability also feels, hey, I am not unable, I can do this.
Absolutely.
How do we reconcile that? And tell us possibly how do you feel when people are trying to overdo things simply because they feel like you need help?
Okay, the first thing that you should know about disabled people, just because I'm disabled doesn't mean that I don't have a mind of my own.
Correct.
Some people will treat you like you don't have the ability to think. So as a person who is disabled, the first thing that the people out there would make sure that they don't overdo is don't over-sympathize. There are things I can't do. So I, as a person who is quote-unquote unable to, I express my need for help, then someone will give me the help. Then kawaida scenarios, like in a matatu, you find someone who is disabled. There's no need to hassle them, you're pushing them. In fact, I call them flights. On the flight, allow the person who is not able to get onto the flight. Then you can easily get on. So it's just the little scenarios that we come across on a daily living life that you treat them with respect. It's just as simple as
What about comments?
Comments. Oh, I think people will always be people, just like kids will be a bit harsh with their comments. So it's just upon you as a person to be kind to the next person, because everyone is dealing with a battle. You don't have to be harsh. You don't have to make comments that you wouldn't want someone else to make them to you. Yes.
What about to those who are living with disabilities and possibly feel disadvantaged, maybe still bitter towards God and others?
Yeah. Oh, well, I think the important thing that has enabled me to get where I am at is to accept yourself. That's the most important thing that you can ever do for yourself. Accept yourself, realize that this is what you are dealing with, but that doesn't make you any less of a person. Now that you're in that predicament, how about you look at life with a better outlook of it, so that you know, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do, but because I know I cannot do this, how about I do what I can, and where I need help, I ask for help.
Okay. And so one of the things you mentioned when we spoke earlier on, when I called you on phone,
Yes.
is the fact that there are some of us who do not have physical disabilities.
Exactly.
However, we have mental disabilities because we have limits that we put on ourselves. Maybe tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. It was an interesting sermon I was once preparing, and I was talking to young ones, and I was talking to them about the invisible disabilities that we have placed on ourselves. So much so that you'll find a very able person, but a simple disability of fearing that I cannot attain it. That already in itself is a disability. So much you will find, Mike, a gentleman who is able like you to do something, but because they have fear, they will not even attempt to do it. So the most important thing is for us as human beings to realize that disability might not necessarily be on the physical. It also could be on the invisible aspect of our lives. So it's important for you to realize that there are things that you need to embrace and able to move to the next level, so that you're not afraid of what you do not see, but you're willing to move and learn as you go along the road. Fear is a very bad thing. There's someone who says that fear is false evidence appearing real. So if you fear that crossing Mombasa Road in the next 15 minutes will be hard for you, believe you me, that's what you will experience. So it's important for you to rise beyond the limitations that you place on yourself. Sometimes there are other limitations like money. You think that because I do not have money, I cannot start this business. How about you go out there, express your idea to somebody, and you'll be surprised that somebody else will come in and help you, quote unquote, in a place where you thought you were disabled.
Now they say, there's a saying that sticks and stones may not break my bones, and words blah 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 may break my bones, but words do not. Now, looking at the confidence and the strength that you have today, you relate it to the fact that you had a very supportive family.
Absolutely.
How important is it for us to support one another in the words that we speak to one another in terms of building this person?
It's very, very, very important to speak words of life to somebody. You don't have to diminish anybody because you want to look better than them. You don't have to speak words of belittling somebody else because you want to look like you have attained it. Words have power to make or break. Just because they say that words do not harm you, but sticks and stones do that, it's not very true. You will find very many people right now are dealing with issues just because of one statement that was made when they were growing up. So for every opportunity that I get as an individual, I choose to plant a good word. I choose to plant a good seed. And you know what, Mike? Life, you will be surprised. What you deposit out there is what you will get back. If anything, 10 times more what you've deposited.
So it's good to make sure that you plant the right seeds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, now you're still living with disabilities, and I'm sure you still get comments and people may be giving you, you know, eyes. How do you deal with that?
Oh, it's very interesting when you, like, I'll give various examples. Like, you come across someone who's looking at you and they have this look for, should I ask? Are you okay? And I think the most amazing thing that God gave me is a smile. So I just smile at them. I'm like, hi, how are you? Then you disarm them completely. They're left thinking, She works different, but she's not really different. So it's just how you approach and treat people. I mean, that's what makes it better and work for me. Yes.
I know there are also challenges, especially when it comes to infrastructure. For example, if somebody's on a wheelchair, just getting by, it's
Yes.
like the disabled community is totally ignored.
Yes.
How do you think that can be changed?
Oh, okay. I'll give an example. Like right now, the way the roads have been made, I get the opportunity. And how high it is.
The curb.
The curb. Oh my goodness. If they would consider such things, make it accessible for people like us, that would be the most amazing thing that they would do for us in terms of development. It's good to have the curbs, but also consider there's somebody who slightly shorter who cannot, you know, access it. And I would say that the government has done something good, but there's more that can be done. The accessibilities of the disabled people on the roads and the way that they cross allow us to have more zebra crossings and sensitize people. Just because it's a zebra crossing doesn't mean that you come cruising through. Let the people cross and do so in peace.
Now, we are in a culture, and I'm glad that it's changing over time, where we have seen somebody living with disabilities as one who requires help. And I'm talking about financial help and reduced even to beggars. What would you say to those who possibly would take advantage of that? Because we do have some who take advantage of their disabilities. What would you say to them?
I'd say to them that there's something in your hands, use it. No one was created without anything. You have a gift. Maximize and exercise that gift. When I come to you and I tell you this is the book I have written, you will not look down on me as a disabled person. You look at me as somebody who has a book that needs to be sold. So what it is that you have in your hands, use it and use it well.
And culturally, are we having a mindset change towards how we look at
absolutely.
people with disabilities?
There are less tears along the roads. There are less people making rude comments. So I would say that we have taken a broader and better step to treating people with disability much better.
Okay. And what would you say to those living with disabilities who possibly are just in a state where they feel sorry for themselves? They can't even move one step further than they are, simply because of self-pity.
Self-pity is very bad. If I was to give in to self-pity, I don't think I would have gotten an education, because going to school was brutal, you know. So self-pity will never get you anywhere. You need to arise and be all that God created you to be. You need to wake up, dust yourself and say, okay, this is the portion I have been handed in life, but you know what, I can do something out of this. If you sit down and pity yourself, believe you me, that's what you will have, a pity party. And life has no time for people who are pity partying.
Now you sound very positive and very energetic and your outlook to life is very, very positive. Where do you get that energy from?
The secret, God. God. I can't tag it to a human being. Never.
How does that influence you? There are some, I mean, who say it's just cliche. It's cliche, you know, God has helped me, the grace of God. We've got these statements that we throw around. And sometimes for somebody who may not even know what God you're talking about, really, they don't understand what you're talking about. By the way, I call it Christianese. It's a language where you understand as a certain community. But there are those who don't understand. Break it down for me. When you say it's God, what do you mean?
I mean that I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And from the Word of God, it tells me that I was created and I am blessed. I am called for the nations. And when I have a relationship with God, there are days, Mike, you wake up and you're thinking, are you sure, God, you said this? And then you go back to His Word and you read it, and then it gives you energy, you're revitalized, you wake up. I'm not saying that my life doesn't have challenges. That would be far from the truth. But the reality is, yes, I face the challenges, but there is a higher reason and a better opportunity for me to rise up the next day and see, today was Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday, what does God have in store for me in Tuesday? Then you wake up the next day, so you keep on looking up, and when you look up you get more strength and you keep moving on.
How important is one's spiritual life? And I'm not just talking about now a spiritual life, but just your spiritual life, to make sure that spiritually you're strong. It's
important because there are moments when the people you imagine will be there for you constantly can never be there. And there are situations where no human being, no matter how much they love you, can be able to feel for you as much as having knowing and realizing that there is one who understands and feels you much more better than anybody around you. So for me, having a walk with God is what keeps me up, keeps me smiling, keeps me going, and keeps me looking out for even a better opportunity to serve God.
Okay, as we wind up, maybe to those who either have a physical disability or mental disability, like you've mentioned, and this is just an impediment, a barrier that we've put on ourselves because of the way we think. Maybe just look into that camera and talk to them and let them know how you've made it to where you are and what they need to do.
Okay. The reason that you're still alive today is because you have not completed your purpose. And we have been told severally that it's important for you to know who you are. Your attitude determines your altitude. And I pray that you will not look at yourself with any disability, but you will realize that what God created was good, and that limitation is only dependent on how you place that limitation on yourself. So if you wake up today and you say that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, then exactly that's what you will achieve.
Thank you very much, June. That's very wonderful to hear from you, and thank you for also sharing your story. I know it's not the easiest thing, and I'm glad that now we can look at things from a different perspective.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's June Kanini, who is a person living with disabilities, but all the same very, very positive on their outlook to life. And to borrow from her, she says that an impediment that you have may just be a mental barrier. The minute you get that out of your way, then you're good to go. And at this point, I'd like to bring in Sophia before we look at our traffic update. And Sophia, great interview you had there, but also before we go to your interview, June Kanini there, starting us off with a good note of the week.
Indeed, really good. And it's good also to remember that we went to campus together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a small world. I didn't know that bit.
It is a small world, but very encouraging that she's very well explained, articulated the issues, and also just a positive spirit, which is important no matter what happens.
Yes, no matter what you go through. Well, great stuff, and this is where we're going to wind up and call it a day. Any feedback from your interview earlier on?
Lots of feedback on that, although I think we need to expand our territory in terms of traffic updates. So this Kenyatta Avenue one,
I think
because
we have a camera that's stuck there.
Yeah, we have this one star camera, so we need to expand this scope. But yeah, lots of feedback. Of course, people generally will express what it is they feel or think about several issues, and that is what they have done. But our time is up, so I understand we don't have time to go through the feedback, but we do thank you for engaging with us this morning.
All right, and we'll leave you the shot of that Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, which is flowing pretty well, and just telling us the traffic is good. So if you're up and about, it looks like it's very good, maybe even kwa sababu mwezi iko kona. But anyway, have yourselves a wonderful day. God bless.